Hello fellow sin enthusiasts, my name is Christina and welcome to another Let's Get Reelz movie review. Today is Classic Movie Thursdays here on my channel, my version of Throwback Thursdays. For today's classic movie, I will be reviewing Love is a Racket from 1932 starring Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and Dvorak, Francis D. and Lee Tracy. Love is a Racket is very much a pre-code movie and one that is pretty decent, not a bad story. It's a bit of a detective story and a fast-talking newspaper story. It's about this reporter named Jimmy Russell, played by Douglas Fairbanks Jr. He just writes like a kind of like a daily column about who's who and who's doing what and everything. He is absolutely in love with this girl named Mary Wodehouse, played by Francis D. And meanwhile, he has this girl who's a friend named Sally that absolutely adores Jimmy, and she is like heartbroken that he can't really see that she loves him when he's so like head over heels for Mary. And Jimmy's friend Stanley is another reporter, and Stanley and Sally are just kind of there for Jimmy. They're like his support, they're his best buddies, they're always around his apartment and everything. Mary comes to Jimmy one day and she says that she's in trouble. She had bad checks, she passed bad checks that bounced, and she's in trouble with a couple of the places that she had bought things at, and she asked Jimmy, you know, like, could you maybe help me get the checks back, or, you know, like, maybe just talk to the people where I passed these bad checks and ask them to hold it until I get a job. So Jimmy decides to go and do that, and he finds out that the checks have been taken back and they've been paid off by some mysterious guy. Meanwhile, Jimmy's newspaper is looking into this racketeer named Eddie Shaw, and he was given the story and he's like, I don't want to do this, I'm not doing it. Jimmy knows where to do his reporting, who to do his reporting on, and he's not getting involved in any kind of like gangster business, any rackets, nothing like that. He doesn't want anything to do with it because he doesn't want to get in trouble. So he passes on the story, but this guy named Seeley, another reporter, decides to do the story even after he told Eddie's gangsters, his other gangster members, that he wouldn't do it. And Seeley is not seen again in this movie. And Jimmy happens to find out that the guy who paid off all of Mary's bad checks is none other than Eddie Shaw. And he's just trying to blackmail Mary. I guess he likes her, so he's like, he sent a telegram, he's like, get down to Atlantic City to Jimmy and you know, we'll work everything out. And then, so Jimmy goes down to Atlantic City and Eddie is not there, and Eddie is actually in New York. He's trying to get Mary to come over. It's a whole big mess. So Jimmy works his behind off to try and get Mary out of this jam, and she doesn't wind up with him at the end. She winds up going off with another guy, and it's kind of sad. Jimmy did all this stuff for Mary, and she just turns around and she's like, oh, I eloped with this big Broadway producer. And you know, he figured out who did what and this whole business, and I feel bad for Jimmy because he did all this for a girl and she broke his heart. And I love the line in this movie. He goes, love is a mental disorder. Like, yeah, in this movie it definitely is. The story is nothing really spectacular. It's nothing like hugely different, but there's a lot of like innuendo thrown around in there. Some of the dialogue isn't that great, but it's all about, you know, how Dvorak looked. She just had this like smoldering look. I love Dvorak in Warner Brothers pre-code movies. She's always amazing in those. Francis D. and Douglas Fairbanks were 23, like 22, 23 years old in this movie, and Dvorak was actually like 20, 21. Holy crap, were they babies. They look so little. They were so adorable. I love their acting. Usually, like Douglas Fairbanks he went a little ham in this. I wasn't crazy about his acting in it, but it might have just been the dialogue. William Wellman, the famous director, he directed this movie. I guess hopefully this was early in Wellman's career. and Warner Brothers was like, here, just do this. Not bad direction. I always like Wellman's directions. Very, very good. So that was my review for Love is a Racket from 1932. If you liked this review in any way, please give this review a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below. If you have seen Love is a Racket, what did you think of it? Anything you want to, leave in the comments about this movie. Let me know what you think. And also in the comments if you have any suggestions for Classic Movie Thursdays, newer movies, TV shows, Netflix shows, whatever you got. Leave them there, and if I pick your movie and I watch it and I review it, I'll give you a shout out. Who doesn't want a shout out in a YouTube video? How awesome would that be? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future Let's Get Reelz movie reviews, because that is what I like to do here. And as always, keep watching movies and stay absolutely fabulous.